Hi everyone, it's me, Spring, the fiber enthusiast, and welcome to the channel. Today's tutorial is going to be this coaster. It could be used as a washcloth or a dishcloth, but the size that I made it, it's coaster size for my mug. Now, I use a very, very large coffee mug, and it sits on the coaster perfectly. There we go. You can make it bigger, smaller, whatever you wish. This is just a basic tutorial on how to do the grit stitch and turning it into something. So if you want to grab some cotton yarn, a crochet hook to match the yarn, and work along with me, you can learn the grit stitch as well as make a coaster, or if you decide to make it bigger, whatever you wish. We will go ahead and get started. For this tutorial and this particular project, I used some paint box Aran weight cotton that I had, and the colorway on the lighter color is light camel, color 609, and the other is raspberry pink, color 644. So these are what I used. Now I did use quite a bit smaller of a hook to get a little bit denser fabric. I used a 3.5 millimeter hook. You can use whatever suits you best. If you tight crochet, you may want a little bigger hook. If you loose crochet like I do, you may want a smaller hook. So I'm going to do the reverse of this one. I'm going to use this raspberry pink for the trim and this camel for the center for this tutorial. All right, so what you're going to need to do is get your yarn with a slip knot on it, whichever one you decide to use for the body or for just learning the grit stitch. If you just want to learn how to do the grit stitch, this part's for you. After a couple of rows, everything after that will be turning it into this right here. So place a slip knot on your hook, and we're going to be chaining in multiples of 2 to begin with. Then it's going to be 2 plus 1. And if you're working on a base chain, you'll add 2 more to that. So right now, we're going to chain in multiples of 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Get some more yarn here. 17, 18, 19, 20. And now we need to add 1 because it was multiples of 3 plus 1. And we need to add 2 more because we're working on a base chain. So 2 more, just like that. All right, for the grit stitch, I'm going to be working into the back bumps, the spine of my work here, of my chain. I'm going to go back to the 3rd chain from my hook. So 1, 2, and into the 3rd chain. I'm going to place a single crochet. Then I'm going to skip 1, and into the next, I'm going to place 2 single crochets. That is your repeat to the end of this row. Skip 1, 2 single crochets into the next. You're going to repeat to the very last stitch. When you have 1 stitch remaining, you will place 1 single crochet into that very last stitch. So 2 single crochets, skip 1, and 2 single crochets. Go ahead and carry on working that repeat all the way to your last stitch, where you place 1 single crochet into the last stitch. I will meet up with you at that point. All right, so I'm coming up to my last stitch here. Gonna 2 chains left. Gonna skip 1 and single crochet into the last chain. This next row is your repeating row to work up your grit stitch. So depending on how big, how small you want to make this, whatever you want to do with it, it is up to you. This next row is your repeat row. So you're going to chain 1, turn your work, place a single crochet into that very first stitch, skip 1 and 2 single crochets into the next. So skip and 2 single crochets. You are going to repeat this all the way till you have 1 stitch left, your turning chain. So skip 1 and 2 single crochets into the next. 1 and 2. Skip 1, 2 single crochets into the next. We're going to repeat this all the way to the end of the row till there's 1 stitch left. Once we reach the end where all we have left is our turning chain and 1 stitch, we're going to place a single crochet into the turning chain. So here we are, we're down at the end. I have 1 stitch left and then the turning chain. You're going to go into the turning chain and place a single crochet. So we're skipping over the top of that last stitch and single crocheting into your turning chain. And again, you're going to chain 1, turn your work, place a single crochet back into that stitch, and then skip 1 and 2 single crochets into the next, and repeat what you just did all the way to the end. 2 single crochets in every other stitch to the last stitch. So we'll work this row together, and then I'll let you continue to work on the rows as you wish for the size that you desire. If you are just learning how to do the grit stitch, that is all there is to the grit stitch. If you're wanting to make a coaster or a washcloth, you will continue using the grit stitch until it is the size that you wish. And I will work mine off camera and come back and show you how to complete it with the trim. So that was 1, 2, skip 1, 1, 2, skip that last physical stitch and single crochet into that turning chain. Just like that. So that is the grit stitch. Continue working on it if you would like to make it into a bigger project, like a coaster or a washcloth or a dishcloth. Continue working on it, and when you are done with the size of the main part of it, come back and I'll show you how to do the trim on it if you are interested. I will return. Okay, so I have completed 20 rows, and this is a little bit larger than the previous one, which is fine. It's not that big a deal. I have completed 20 rows. I'm going to go ahead and cut away from this lighter color. Pull that through, and I will sew in the ends later. All right, now I'm going to bring up the raspberry pink, and we're going to work the trim around this. And all it is a few double crochets to create a fan on the corners and some single crochets. Real simple, basic little trim edging on it. Going to continue to use the same size crochet hook. I'm going to start in the corner, and in the first corner, I'm going to pull that stitch through the corner, and I'm going to chain 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going to place 2 more double crochets into this corner here. 1 and 2. Okay, now I'm going to skip 2 stitches down the side, 1 and 2, and I'm going to single crochet into the next. Okay, so I'm going to place 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way until I have 3 stitches remaining. So I'm going to just work down the side here, well, the top, placing 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way to 3 stitches before the end. Just working over that tail as I was going. Almost to the end here. All right, I have 3 stitches remaining. We're going to skip 1, 2, and into this corner stitch here, the last stitch, we're going to place 7 double crochets. And again, I am going to be working over the top of my tail as I place those 7 double crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And now we're going to be working down the side of the square, which makes it a little bit more difficult, but you're going to evenly as possible place single crochets down the side of your work. We're going to skip over 1, 2, and you can kind of see where the end of the row is. If you turn it on its edge, you can kind of see where it's at. So we're going to skip 1 and 2 and into this little third spot here, and we're going to place a single crochet. And again, we're going to repeat that. We're going to work all the way down to 3 stitches before the corner. So 1, 2, 3. And you can locate that beforehand and place a stitch marker into that space if you wish. And then just work to your stitch marker. Sometimes that helps. And you may want to count how many single crochets you're putting on the side, and that way you can replicate it on the opposite side the same amount. And we're just going to repeat that same thing over again when we get to the end. Coming up on our last few stitches here. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and remove my stitch marker. And we're going to skip 1, 2, and into this corner, we're going to place 7 double crochets to create that fan once again. Here we are. Oops, that loop's a little big. Now you can continue working on this, and when we get to the end, see if I can get this to do 7, we will be doing good. There's 1. There's 2. And 3. 4. 5. 6 and 7. Goodness, that was wanting to be argumentative. Okay. Once again, you're going to skip over the next 2 stitches and place a single crochet into the 3rd. And you just got to kind of judge these accordingly. Like I said, you can turn it on its side and see those stitches, but place them as evenly as possible, working down this side, placing 7 double crochets into the next corner. And when we get to 2 stitches before the corner, I will meet back up with you and we'll finish this last corner together. But I'm just going to keep working the rest of the way down this side, around the corner, and then all the way to the point where we're going to finish up this corner. And I'll be right back. All right, I've come up to the very end, and if you remember, we started with 3 double crochets, so we need to add 4 more double crochets to complete the corner. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now you're just going to simply slip stitch to the top of your chain 3. There we go. And chain 1. Now I'm going to cut away from my work. Pull that loop all the way through and sew in my ends. So there you have it. That is that one. And here is the first one. So I got a little stack going on here. We can turn them like this and stack them up if you wish. But that is just learning how to do the grit stitch and turning it into something. While you're learning how to do the grit stitch, you can make a coaster or a hand towel or something like that, and have something to show for it afterwards. All right, everyone. Be blessed. Be a blessing. And until next time, bye for now.